The general manager screamed, "We don't serve your kind here," while the entire staff watched and laughed as they dragged him toward the exit. Guests in the lobby pulled out their phones to record what looked like another case of hotel discrimination. But 7 minutes later, that same man was standing back in that lobby as the CEO and owner who had just destroyed every single career in that building. The general manager, who called him a racial slur, fired and arrested for hate crimes. The security guards who put their hands on him, terminated and banned from the industry forever. The front desk staff who refused service, all unemployed within minutes. But here's the part that will absolutely blow your mind. This wasn't just any hotel. This was the flagship property of a $3.8 billion luxury empire, and the man they threw out owns every single hotel, restaurant, and property in the entire company. The phone call he made from the sidewalk didn't just fire the staff. It triggered FBI investigations, congressional hearings, and federal law changes that are still protecting hotel guests today. The lawsuit that followed paid him $75 million, which he used to create the largest discrimination prevention fund in hospitality history. The media firestorm destroyed careers in 3 states. The congressional testimony he gave led to the Hotel Guest Civil Rights Act that revolutionized the entire industry. Hit that subscribe button right now and tell me where you are watching from, because this story will show you exactly what happens when racist hotel employees pick the absolute wrong person to mess with. And I guarantee what you're about to witness will restore your faith in justice. Marcus Blackwell lives in a 10,000 square foot penthouse overlooking Chicago's Magnificent Mile, where he reviews financial reports every morning at 5 a.m. for his hospitality empire, worth $3.8 billion. But the awards and degrees covering his office walls tell an incredible story that most people would never expect from looking at this soft-spoken man in his early 50s. Harvard MBA, 1999, where he graduated magna cum laude while working 2 jobs to pay tuition and sending money home to support his family. Wharton Executive Program Certificate, 2005, completed during evenings and weekends while building his first hotel chain from a single rundown motel. Cornell School of Hotel Administration Honorary Doctorate, 2010, recognizing his revolutionary impact on luxury hospitality and minority business development. Hospitality Industry Leader of the Year, 2015, awarded by the American Hotel and Lodging Association for his innovations in guest service and employee development. Congressional Medal of Business Excellence, 2018, recognizing his contributions to economic development in underserved communities. Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year, 2020, for building one of America's largest minority-owned hospitality companies. But here's what those impressive certificates and awards don't reveal. Marcus Blackwell is the founder, CEO, and sole owner of Blackwell Hospitality Group, the parent company that owns 47 luxury hotels across North America, including the Grand Meridian Chicago, the very hotel where he was about to face the most expensive discrimination incident in hospitality history. Marcus started from less than nothing in ways that would shock most people who see his incredible success today. Born in Detroit's Corktown neighborhood during the height of the city's economic collapse in 1972, he was raised by parents who both lost their factory jobs when he was 8 years old and never fully recovered financially or emotionally from the devastation. His father, Robert Blackwell, had worked for motor company's River Rouge assembly line for 12 years before massive layoffs eliminated his position, along with 8,000 others, in a single devastating day. Robert had started at Ford right out of high school, proud to work for a company that had built Detroit into the Motor City. He had planned to retire from Ford after 30 years, with a pension and benefits that would support his family. When the layoffs came, Robert fell into a depression that lasted for years. He would sit at the kitchen table for hours, staring at unemployment notices and rejection letters from other manufacturing companies that were also downsizing. "I don't understand what happened," he would tell Marcus's mother. "I did everything right. I worked hard. I was never late, and I never complained. How can they just throw me away?" Marcus's mother, Angela Blackwell, tried to hold the family together while dealing with her own grief over their lost future. She had been working part-time at a department store while raising Marcus and his younger sister Keisha, but now she needed to find full-time work to replace Robert's lost income. Angela took whatever job she could find, cleaning office buildings from midnight to 6 a.m., working at a laundromat during the day. taking in ironing and mending from neighbors in the evenings. She would work 18-hour days, coming home exhausted but determined to keep her family from losing their small apartment. The Blackwell family lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a building where the heating system failed every winter and the plumbing broke down regularly. The landlord, Mr. Peterson, was known for ignoring repair requests from tenants who couldn't afford to move elsewhere. Marcus shared a small bedroom with 10-year-old 𝐒𝐭𝐨𝐫𝐲, sleeping on a thin mattress on the floor, while she had the single bed they'd purchased used from the Salvation Army for $15. The mattress was so worn that Marcus could feel the floor through it, but he never complained because he understood their family's financial situation. Money was so tight that Angela often went without eating to ensure her children had food. She would prepare 2 meals each day, scrambled eggs and toast for Marcus and 𝐒𝐭𝐨𝐫𝐲, claiming she had eaten earlier or would eat later. Marcus began to notice that his mother was getting thinner and realized she was sacrificing her own meals for them. One evening when Marcus was 9 years old, he found his mother crying quietly in the kitchen while sorting through unpaid bills. "Mama, what's wrong?" he asked. "Nothing, baby," Angela replied, quickly wiping her tears. "Just some grown-up worries. You don't need to worry about anything." But Marcus was already mature beyond his years. "Mama, I know we don't have enough money. I see you are not eating. I see Daddy sitting at the table looking sad all the time. Maybe I can help." Angela knelt to Marcus's eye level and took his hands in hers. "Baby, your job is to go to school and learn everything you can. Education is the one thing nobody can ever take away from you. No matter how hard things get, no matter what people say about where you come from, you keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing you deserve better than what you see around here." Those words became Marcus's guiding principle for the rest of his life. Marcus attended 𝐒𝐭∫town Elementary School, where most of his classmates came from families dealing with similar struggles: unemployment, eviction notices, utility shutoffs, and the grinding poverty that had consumed much of Detroit's working-class neighborhoods. The school building was old and underfunded, with peeling paint, broken windows that were covered with cardboard, and textbooks that were decades out of date. His teachers quickly recognized his exceptional intelligence and incredible work ethic, but they also noticed the obvious signs of severe financial hardship. He wore the same 3 shirts in rotation throughout the school week, carefully washed and pressed by his mother each evening. Despite their broken washing machine that required coins they didn't have, Marcus would hand wash his clothes in the bathroom sink and hang them on a makeshift clothesline in his bedroom. His school supplies were rationed precisely, using pencils until they were too small to hold, erasing homework assignments so thoroughly that the paper developed holes, carrying the same backpack for 3 years until the straps broke and had to be tied together with rope his father found in the alley. Mrs. Dorothy Washington, his 4th grade teacher, was a 58-year-old black woman who had been teaching in Detroit's public schools for over 30 years. She had grown up in the South during segregation and understood the challenges facing children like Marcus, who had tremendous potential but faced overwhelming obstacles. Mrs. Washington began staying after school to tutor Marcus without charge, using her own limited salary to provide him with lunches when she noticed he often went without eating. She would discreetly slip granola bars and sandwiches into his backpack, telling him they were extras from the teacher's lounge. "This child has extraordinary potential," she told Principal Johnson during a faculty meeting. "He asks questions that graduate students would struggle with. He understands complex concepts that most adults can't grasp. We cannot allow poverty to destroy what could be a brilliant future." Mrs. Washington also helped Marcus discover his passion for business and hospitality during a field trip to Detroit's Renaissance Center. While other students were excited by the tall buildings and fancy decorations, Marcus was fascinated by the hotel operations, how staff coordinated to serve hundreds of guests simultaneously, how the logistics worked, how customer service created experiences that people would remember and return for. "Mrs. Washington," he said on the bus ride back to school, "someday I'm going to own a hotel like that. But I'm going to make sure it treats everyone equally, not just rich people. I'm going to hire people from neighborhoods like mine and give them good jobs with benefits." Mrs. Washington smiled at his determination. "Marcus, I believe you can do anything you set your mind to. But remember, success isn't just about what you achieve for yourself. It's about how you help others achieve their dreams too." By middle school, Marcus was working every day after classes and all weekend to help support his family. His schedule was exhausting but necessary. He delivered newspapers from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. before school, earning $35 per week that went directly to his family's grocery budget. After school, he stocked shelves at Johnson's Corner Market from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., earning minimum wage plus occasional tips from customers who appreciated his helpful attitude and hard work. The owner, Mr. James Johnson, was a 60-year-old black man who had built a small but successful business serving the neighborhood. Marcus, Mr. Johnson told him one evening as they were closing the store, "You're different from most of the young people I hire. You pay attention to details. You care about customer service. You understand that every interaction with a customer is important for the business." Mr. Johnson began teaching Marcus about business operations, how to manage inventory, calculate profit margins, understand customer preferences, and build relationships that create repeat business. Success in business isn't about being the smartest person in the room, he explained. It's about understanding what people need and figuring out how to provide it better than anyone else. On weekends, Marcus worked 10-hour shifts at the store, learning every aspect of retail operations while earning money his family desperately needed. Every dollar he earned went toward rent, utilities, and groceries. But he also began saving quarters and dimes in a coffee can hidden under his mattress, money for college that he refused to touch, no matter how desperate their circumstances became. His guidance counselor at Corktown Middle School, Mr. James Thompson, meant well, but had limited expectations for students from Marcus's background. During a career planning session in 8th grade, Mr. Thompson reviewed Marcus's excellent grades and test scores, but focused on realistic options. "Marcus, you're clearly a bright student with good work habits, but college is extremely expensive and very competitive. Maybe you should think about community college and a practical trade program. There's nothing wrong with learning a valuable skill like auto mechanics or construction. Those jobs pay well and don't require expensive education." Marcus listened respectfully but had already decided his path. "Mr. Thompson, I appreciate your advice, and I understand college is expensive and competitive, but I'm going to graduate from Harvard Business School and own my own company. I know it sounds impossible from where I am now, but I'm going to make it happen." Mr. Thompson looked at Marcus with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Son, I don't want to get your hopes up too high and then face disappointment. The statistics for students from your background getting into elite universities are not encouraging." "Mr. Thompson, I understand the statistics, but statistics describe what has happened, not what has to happen. I'm going to be different." High school brought new challenges and new opportunities that would shape Marcus's future in unexpected ways. He attended Martin Luther King Jr. High School, where he maintained a perfect 4.0 GPA while working 30 hours per week to help support his family and save money for college. His schedule was brutal but manageable through careful planning and incredible discipline. Wake up at 4 a.m. to deliver newspapers throughout his neighborhood, earning $45 per week. Attend school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., participating in advanced placement classes that would earn him college credit. Work at Johnson's Corner Market from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., now earning $8 per hour as an assistant manager. Study from 9 p.m. to midnight to complete homework and prepare for advanced placement exams. His English teacher, Ms. Patricia Collins, recognized his exceptional writing ability and analytical thinking skills. She encouraged him to enter essay contests that offered scholarship money and recognition for academic achievement. His first contest entry was a 1,000-word essay about overcoming adversity through education that described growing up in poverty while maintaining hope for a better future. The essay won first place in a statewide competition and earned him $500 that went directly toward his family's overdue electric bill, preventing the power from being shut off. "Marcus," Ms. Collins told him after the award ceremony, "you have a gift for expressing complex ideas in ways that people can understand and relate to. That's exactly what successful leaders need, the ability to communicate vision and inspire others to work toward common goals." But it was his business teacher, Mr. Ronald Hayes, who changed Marcus's trajectory by introducing him to the concepts of entrepreneurship and business ownership. Mr. Hayes was a 45-year-old former corporate executive who had left his job at General Motors to become a teacher because he wanted to help young people understand business principles and economic opportunities. Marcus, Mr. Hayes said during a career planning session, "You have an unusual combination of analytical intelligence and emotional intelligence. You understand people and you understand systems. You can see problems that others miss, and you can develop solutions that others wouldn't think of. That's exactly what successful business leaders need." Mr. Hayes spent extra time working with Marcus on business concepts, teaching him about marketing, finance, operations, and strategic planning. He helped Marcus understand that business ownership wasn't just about making money. It was about creating value for customers, providing good jobs for employees, and contributing to community development. The best businesses solve real problems for real people, Mr. Hayes explained. Find a problem that affects many people, develop a solution that works better than existing alternatives, and build a company around delivering that solution excellently and consistently. Mr. Hayes helped Marcus apply for the Young Entrepreneurs Summer Program at Wayne State University, a competitive program that accepted only 20 high school students from across Michigan. Marcus's application essay about wanting to create businesses that served underserved communities earned him one of the coveted positions. The summer program was transformative for Marcus in ways he couldn't have anticipated. For 6 weeks, he worked alongside successful business owners who shared their experiences, strategies, and insights about building companies from scratch. He met hotel owners, restaurant entrepreneurs, retail executives, and manufacturing leaders who showed him that business success was possible regardless of background or starting circumstances. Most importantly, he met Dr. Sarah Martinez, a 42-year-old Latina woman who had built a chain of budget hotels serving working-class families and business travelers who couldn't afford luxury accommodations. Dr. Martinez had grown up in a Mexican-American family in San Antonio, working in her parents' small restaurant while studying business and hospitality management. "Marcus," she told him during a mentoring session, "the hospitality industry needs leaders who understand what it's like to be treated poorly because of your race or economic status. Most hotels focus on wealthy customers and ignore the millions of people who need clean, affordable accommodations with respectful service." Dr. Martinez explained her business model of providing quality lodging at reasonable prices while training staff to treat every guest with dignity, regardless of their background. There's a huge market for hospitality services that combine good value with excellent customer service. You could revolutionize how hotels serve all customers, not just wealthy ones. She also taught Marcus about the importance of corporate responsibility and giving back to the community. Business success gives you power and resources. How you use that power determines whether your success benefits just yourself or helps lift other people who face the same challenges you've overcome. A full academic scholarship to the University of Michigan changed Marcus's life completely. Not just a world-class education, though he graduated summa cum laude with degrees in business administration and hospitality management, but the exposure to successful professionals who showed him that his dreams were achievable with hard work, strategic planning, and unwavering persistence. His business professor, Dr. Michael Chun, was a 50-year-old former hotel executive who had worked for Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt before becoming an academic. Dr. Chun became Marcus's mentor and encouraged him to think beyond just getting a good job after graduation. "Marcus, you have the analytical skills and leadership qualities to build your own company," Dr. Chun told him during his junior year. "Don't just work for someone else's dream. Create your own vision and build a business that reflects your values and serves your community." During college, Marcus worked at the campus Marriott to learn every aspect of hospitality operations from the ground up. He started in housekeeping, learning how to clean rooms efficiently and thoroughly while maintaining the highest standard of quality and guest satisfaction. Then he moved to front desk operations, understanding customer service protocols, reservation systems, and guest relations management. He learned how to handle complaints, process check-ins and check-outs, and coordinate with other departments to ensure smooth operations. He worked in the restaurant, learning food service, kitchen management, inventory control, and staff coordination. He spent time in maintenance, understanding building systems, property management, and the behind-the-scenes operations that guests never see, but that are crucial to hotel success. But most importantly, he observed how different guests were treated based on their appearance, accent, and perceived economic status. He watched wealthy businessmen receive immediate assistance and complimentary upgrades, while working-class families were often ignored or treated dismissively by staff who assumed they wouldn't tip well. He saw Black and Latino guests question more frequently about their credit cards and reservations, asked for additional identification, and given rooms on lower floors or near noisy areas like elevators and ice machines. He witnessed staff making assumptions about guests' ability to pay and adjusting their service level accordingly. This has to change, he wrote in his senior thesis on hospitality industry discrimination. Hotels should provide excellent service to every guest, regardless of race, ethnicity, economic background, or appearance. Discrimination isn't just morally wrong. It's bad business that loses customers, damages reputations, and limits growth potential. His thesis proposed specific strategies for eliminating bias in hotel operations, including comprehensive staff training, standardized service protocols, management oversight, and guest feedback systems that identify and address discriminatory treatment. Harvard Business School was brutally competitive and expensive, but Marcus had saved every dollar from his college jobs, earned additional scholarships based on his academic performance and leadership potential, and received financial aid that made his dream education possible. His professors were impressed by his unique combination of theoretical knowledge and practical experience in hospitality operations. His case study analyses consistently demonstrated a deep understanding of business principles combined with real-world insights about operational challenges and customer service. His Harvard thesis focused on building hotel chains that served underserved markets, business travelers with limited budgets, families taking affordable vacations, and communities where major hotel chains had no presence because they were considered insufficiently profitable. There's a huge untapped market for quality hospitality services at moderate prices, he argued in his thesis. The industry has focused too heavily on luxury customers, while ignoring millions of potential guests who need reliable, clean accommodations with professional service. His business plan outlined a strategy for acquiring struggling hotels in good locations, implementing operational improvements that would increase efficiency and profitability, and training staff to provide excellent customer service to all guests regardless of their background or economic status. After Harvard, Marcus received impressive job offers from major hotel chains, prestigious consulting companies, and investment firms that his classmates would have accepted without hesitation. Marriott offered him a fast-track management position with a starting salary of $85,000. McKinsey & Company wanted him for their hospitality consulting practice at $95,000 plus bonuses. Goldman Sachs offered him a position in their real estate investment group at $110,000. But instead of taking secure, high-paying positions that would have guaranteed financial success, he used his $25,000 in savings to make a down payment on a rundown motel outside Detroit that was facing foreclosure. The Metro Lodge Motel had 24 rooms, a leaking roof, broken air conditioning units, outdated plumbing, and a reputation in the community for crime, drug activity, and unsafe conditions. Most business advisors and all of his Harvard professors told Marcus he was crazy to risk his future on such a problematic property. You could make six figures working for Marriott or Hilton, his Harvard professors warned during his final semester. Why risk everything on a failing motel that will probably bankrupt you within a year? You have too much potential to waste it on such a risky venture. But Marcus saw potential where others saw problems. The location was excellent. 3 miles from Detroit Metro Airport with easy highway access and visibility from the main road. The building structure was solid despite cosmetic and mechanical problems that could be fixed with time and investment. Most importantly, there was significant unmet demand for affordable, clean accommodations in the area that wasn't being served by existing properties. The Metro Lodge was located in a working-class neighborhood where many residents worked at the airport, nearby factories, and service businesses. Families visiting patients at nearby hospitals needed affordable places to stay. Business travelers on limited budgets needed clean, safe accommodations close to the airport. Marcus spent the first 6 months personally renovating every room, working 18-hour days to install new carpeting, repaint walls, replace furniture, and upgrade all mechanical systems. He learned plumbing, electrical work, and basic construction by watching YouTube videos and asking for advice from experienced contractors who were impressed by his determination and work ethic. He implemented strict security policies and worked closely with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department to eliminate criminal activity that had given the property its bad reputation. He installed new lighting security cameras and electronic locks. He hired private security guards for the overnight shift and established clear policies about guest behavior and property rules. Most importantly, he hired staff who understood his vision of providing excellent service regardless of guest backgrounds or economic circumstances. He recruited employees from the local community who were looking for stable employment with opportunities for advancement. "I want every guest who stays here to feel welcome and respected," he told his staff during their initial training. Whether someone is staying here because they're on a tight budget or because they're dealing with a family emergency, they deserve the same level of professional service and courtesy that they would receive at the most expensive hotel in the city. Within 18 months, the Metro Lodge was operating at 95% capacity with outstanding customer reviews on travel websites and strong profitability that exceeded Marcus's most optimistic projections. Guests appreciated the combination of reasonable prices, clean facilities, respectful treatment, and convenient location that they couldn't find at other budget properties in the area. Local newspapers wrote feature stories about the young Harvard MBA who had transformed a problem property into a community asset. The Detroit Chamber of Commerce invited him to speak about minority entrepreneurship and community development. Marcus used the profits from a Metro Lodge to purchase a second struggling property in Flint, Michigan, then a third in Grand Rapids, then a fourth in Lansing. Each acquisition followed the same successful pattern. Identify underperforming hotels in good locations, implement comprehensive renovations and operational improvements, train staff to provide excellent service to all guests, and build strong relationships with local communities. By 2005, he owned 12 hotels across Michigan, generating $50 million in annual revenue. By 2010, Blackwell Hospitality Group included 28 properties in 5 states with over 3,000 employees. By 2015, the company owned 41 hotels and had expanded into luxury accommodations for affluent travelers who appreciated the company's commitment to quality and excellent service. His business model was unique in the hospitality industry. While most hotel chains focus either on luxury properties for wealthy customers or budget accommodations with minimal service, Blackwell Hospitality Group offered multiple brands that served different market segments while maintaining consistent standards of quality and customer service. The Blackwell budget brand provided clean, safe, affordable accommodations for families and business travelers who needed good value without luxury amenities. The Blackwell Select brand offered mid-scale properties with enhanced amenities for customers who wanted more comfort but didn't need full luxury service. The Blackwell Grand brand provided luxury accommodations that competed with the finest hotels in the world. But every property and every brand implemented the same core principle. Every guest deserves respectful treatment and excellent service regardless of their race, ethnicity, economic background, or appearance. His flagship property, the Grand Meridian Chicago, opened in 2018 as a stunning example of luxury hospitality with a difference. Located on North Michigan Avenue in the heart of the magnificent Mile Shopping District, the hotel featured 300 luxury suites, 3 award-winning restaurants, a full-service spa, extensive meeting facilities, and concierge services that rivaled any property in the world. The Grand Meridian's interior design combined classical elegance with modern functionality. The lobby featured Italian marble floors, crystal chandeliers, original artwork by prominent American artists, and comfortable seating areas where guests could relax or conduct business meetings. Each suite included premium bedding, marble bathrooms, state-of-the-art technology, and personalized service that anticipated guests' needs and preferences. The restaurant served cuisine prepared by James Beard award-winning chefs, using the finest ingredients from around the world. But unlike other luxury hotels that catered exclusively to wealthy clientele, the Grand Meridian welcomed guests from all backgrounds and economic levels while maintaining the highest standards of service and amenities. Marcus insisted on policies that ensured every guest received identical treatment, regardless of their appearance, accent, or perceived wealth. Staff training at the Grand Meridian emphasized cultural sensitivity, anti-discrimination policies, and the fundamental principle that every guest deserves respect and excellent service. The hotel's employee handbook explicitly stated that discriminatory behavior toward guests would result in immediate termination without exception. "We serve people, not bank accounts," Marcus told the Grand Meridian staff during their orientation training. "Our job is to provide exceptional hospitality to every person who walks through our doors. That means treating a family on vacation with the same courtesy and professionalism that we show to a Fortune 500 CEO. The Grand Meridian quickly earned recognition as one of the finest hotels in Chicago, receiving 5-star ratings from travel publications, hospitality awards from industry organizations, and consistently high satisfaction scores from guests representing diverse backgrounds and demographics. By 2024, Marcus Blackwell had built Blackwell Hospitality Group into a $3.8 billion empire, employing over 12,000 people across 47 properties in 15 states and 3 Canadian provinces. The company had received numerous awards for business excellence, community service, and advancing diversity in the hospitality industry. Forbes magazine featured him on their cover as the entrepreneur who revolutionized hospitality. Harvard Business School invited him to deliver commencement addresses and serve on its board of visitors. The Smithsonian's National Museum of African American History requested artifacts from his career for their entrepreneurship exhibit. But remarkable success never changed his core values or his vivid memory of what it felt like to be dismissed, underestimated, and treated poorly because of his race and background. He often traveled incognito to his own properties and competitor hotels, observing how staff treated different types of guests and ensuring his company's standards were maintained consistently across all locations. He maintained detailed files documenting every guest complaint across all Blackwell properties, personally reviewing cases that involved potential discrimination and requiring senior executives to implement corrective actions within 48 hours. Employees who discriminated against guests faced immediate termination regardless of their seniority or performance in other areas. Marcus also established the Blackwell Foundation, a nonprofit organization that provided scholarships for students from disadvantaged backgrounds pursuing careers in hospitality management, funding for community development projects in underserved neighborhoods, and grants for organizations working to eliminate discrimination in service industries. This brings us to Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, a date that will become infamous in hospitality history and civil rights law. Marcus was traveling from a business meeting with potential investors in Milwaukee back to his Chicago headquarters when he decided to make an unannounced visit to the Grand Meridian to address some operational concerns that had been reported to his executive team. Recent guest feedback had mentioned slower response times from room service, inconsistent quality from the concierge staff, and some concerns about staff attitudes toward guests who didn't appear to be wealthy business travelers. Marcus wanted to observe normal operations without the artificial performance that occurred when employees knew the owner was present. He dressed casually for the unannounced visit. Well-fitted dark wash jeans, a simple black cashmere sweater, and comfortable Italian leather walking shoes. His hair was styled in a neat, natural cut, and he carried a leather messenger bag containing his laptop and business materials. He intended to spend an hour or two in the lobby and public areas, observing guest interactions, staff performance, and operational efficiency, then meet with the general manager to discuss his observations and any necessary improvements. Before we continue with what happened next, I want you to think about your own experiences with service discrimination. Have you ever been treated differently at a hotel, restaurant, or store because of your appearance, accent, or perceived economic status? Have you witnessed staff making unfair assumptions about customers based on race, age, or clothing? Share your experiences in the comments, because Marcus's story shows what can happen when discriminatory employees choose the wrong target and face consequences they never imagined possible. The Grand Meridian Chicago stood as a monument to luxury hospitality on North Michigan Avenue, its 35-story glass and granite facade reflecting the upscale shopping and dining establishments that surrounded it in Chicago's most prestigious commercial district. The property represented everything Marcus had worked to achieve: elegant architecture, impeccable service standards, and a welcoming environment for guests from all backgrounds and economic circumstances. The lobby was designed to impress visitors from the moment they entered. Italian Carrara marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers imported from Vienna. Original paintings by contemporary American artists adorned the walls. Comfortable seating areas featured custom-made furniture upholstered in Italian leather, where guests could relax, conduct business meetings, or simply enjoy the sophisticated atmosphere. The registration desk was crafted from imported walnut, and staff with experienced hospitality professionals trained to provide personalized service that made every arrival feel special and welcome. Behind the front desk, a wall of mahogany displayed the hotel's numerous awards and recognitions for excellence in hospitality service. But on this particular Tuesday afternoon, the Grand Meridian was operating under temporary management circumstances that Marcus was unaware of. The regular general manager, Patricia Williams, was attending the International Hotel Investment Forum in Las Vegas, a prestigious industry conference where she was scheduled to speak about diversity initiatives in luxury hospitality. The acting general manager was Richard Hawthorne, a 45-year-old career hotel executive who had joined Blackwell Hospitality Group only 6 months earlier after being terminated from his previous position at the Ritz-Carlton Boston for what his former employer diplomatically described as philosophical differences regarding guest service standards. Richard had been hired during a period when Marcus was focused on expanding into new markets and had delegated more hiring decisions to his regional directors and human resources department. Had Marcus interviewed Richard personally, he would have detected the subtle but persistent racial attitudes that Richard had developed during his 20-year career at properties that catered exclusively to wealthy white clientele. Richard's approach to hotel management emphasized what he described as maintaining appropriate standards and ensuring that the Grand Meridian attracted and retained the right type of clientele. In practice, this meant scrutinizing guests who didn't fit his mental image of luxury hotel customers and implementing policies that discouraged what he considered undesirable visitors. During his brief tenure at the Grand Meridian, Richard had instituted several policy changes that concerned some staff members, but that he justified as necessary for maintaining the hotel's prestigious reputation. He had instructed front desk staff to ask more detailed questions about guest credit cards and reservations, particularly when dealing with younger guests or guests who didn't dress in business attire. He had also changed security protocols to include more frequent patrols of the lobby area and more aggressive questioning of individuals who appeared to be loitering rather than conducting legitimate hotel business. Several staff members had privately expressed concerns about these changes, but Richard's seniority and management authority had prevented open challenges to his policies. The front desk staff that afternoon included Jennifer Walsh, a 28-year-old desk clerk who had been with the Grand Meridian for 2 years and generally provided competent service, but was easily influenced by management directives and reluctant to challenge authority figures even when she felt uncomfortable with their instructions. Carlos Martinez, a recent hospitality school graduate in his first professional position, was working his second week at the Grand Meridian and was still learning company policies and procedures while trying to make a good impression on his supervisors. He had noticed that Richard seemed to have different expectations for different types of guests, but as the newest employee, he felt uncertain about questioning management decisions. Susan Chung was working as a front desk supervisor that day. She was an experienced hospitality professional with 8 years at various luxury properties who had joined the Grand Meridian specifically because of Blackwell Hospitality Group's reputation for treating all guests with equal respect. She had growing concerns about Richard's policies and their potential for creating discrimination problems, but she hadn't yet felt comfortable raising these issues directly with senior management. The security team consisted of 2 guards working the day shift. Michael Thompson was a former Chicago police officer with 8 years of hotel security experience who had been with Blackwell Hospitality Group for 3 years. He understood the company's policies about treating all guests respectfully, but he was also accustomed to following management directives without question. David Johnson was a newer security guard who had been hired just 3 months earlier. He was 24 years old, eager to prove himself in his first security position, and inclined to interpret his responsibilities aggressively to impress his supervisors with his vigilance and dedication to protecting the hotel's interests. Marcus entered the Grand Meridian lobby at approximately 3:15 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th. The lobby was moderately busy with typical mid-afternoon activity. Business travelers checking in for evening meetings, tourists exploring the city's attractions, and residents meeting friends in the hotel's restaurant and lounge areas. He paused near the entrance to observe the overall atmosphere and guest flow patterns. The lobby appeared to be operating smoothly, with staff members assisting guests and maintaining the high standards of cleanliness and organization that were hallmarks of Blackwell properties. He planned to spend 30 to 45 minutes observing operations, then identify himself to whoever was serving as manager and request a brief meeting to discuss the operational concerns that had been reported to his office. He expected this to be a routine visit that would result in minor adjustments to improve service quality. But before Marcus could complete his initial observations or approach the registration desk, he was intercepted by David Johnson, the junior security guard who had been watching him from across the lobby since he entered the building. From David's perspective, Marcus appeared to be someone who didn't belong in a luxury hotel environment. His casual attire, his careful observation of the lobby, and his failure to immediately approach the front desk or proceed to the elevators suggested to David that he might be someone with questionable intentions or illegitimate business at the property. "Excuse me, sir," David said, positioning himself directly in Marcus's path near the seating area. "Can I help you with something specific today?" Marcus looked at the young security guard with mild confusion, unaccustomed to being approached by hotel security anywhere, particularly at his own property. "I'm here to speak with your manager about some operational matters that need attention." David's limited training at his previous security job had emphasized being suspicious of anyone who didn't obviously belong in upscale establishments. Marcus's casual dress, direct approach to speaking with management, and failure to identify himself as a registered guest triggered David's assumptions about potential troublemakers or individuals who might be seeking to cause problems for the hotel. "What kind of operational matters are you referring to, sir?" David asked with obvious skepticism. "Are you currently a registered guest at this hotel?" Marcus felt the first stirring of concern about where this conversation was heading. "I need to discuss those matters directly with your management staff. Could you please locate whoever is serving as general manager today?" David perceived Marcus's refusal to provide specific details as evasive behavior that confirmed his suspicions. He signaled to Michael Thompson, the senior security guard, who was positioned near the front desk and could see that some kind of situation was developing in the lobby seating area. "What seems to be the situation here?" Michael asked as he approached, assessing what he assumed was a potential security matter that might require intervention. "This individual says he wants to speak with management about operational issues, but he won't identify himself as a hotel guest or explain his specific business here," David reported, already framing Marcus as someone behaving suspiciously or inappropriately. Michael Thompson had significantly more experience than David and should have recognized that many legitimate situations require speaking with hotel management, vendor representatives, corporate executives, business partners, government inspectors, and others who had valid reasons to request management meetings without being hotel guests. But he was also influenced by David's characterization of the situation and by Marcus's casual appearance, which didn't match Michael's expectations for someone who would have legitimate business matters to discuss with senior management at a luxury hotel. "Sir, if you're not currently a registered guest, I'm going to need you to state your business clearly and specifically, or I'll have to ask you to leave the premises," Michael said with the authority of someone accustomed to making such demands and having them obeyed without question. Marcus felt a familiar tightening in his chest that came with these types of encounters. The assumption that his presence in an upscale environment was somehow suspect or illegitimate. After decades of building his business and establishing his reputation, he was still facing challenges based on his appearance and others' biased assumptions. "I am here on legitimate business matters that I need to discuss privately with your management staff," Marcus replied firmly but calmly. "Please locate your general manager and tell him that someone is here to discuss important operational issues that affect this hotel." The interaction was beginning to attract attention from other guests and staff members in the lobby. Jennifer Walsh at the front desk was watching with growing interest and concern. Carlos Martinez looked uncomfortable with the confrontation developing in the main guest area. Susan Chun was observing from behind the front desk with increasing alarm about how the situation was being handled. Several guests in the lobby seating area had stopped their conversations to watch what appeared to be a security incident involving a well-dressed black man who was being questioned aggressively by hotel security guards. Some guests began discreetly taking out their smartphones, sensing that they might be witnessing something newsworthy or problematic. Richard Hawthorne emerged from his office behind the front desk, having been alerted by Jennifer Walsh that security appeared to be dealing with some kind of disturbance involving a non-guest who was demanding to speak with management. When Richard saw Marcus, a casually dressed black man being questioned by security guards, he immediately made assumptions about the nature of the situation. From Richard's perspective, this appeared to be exactly the kind of situation that his enhanced security protocols were designed to address. Someone who didn't belong in the Grand Meridian's upscale environment, attempting to gain access to management or create problems that could disturb paying guests. "What seems to be the problem here, gentlemen?" Richard asked, directing his question to the security guards rather than to Marcus, immediately establishing where his sympathies and authority were aligned. This individual is demanding to speak with management about what he calls operational issues, but he refuses to identify himself as a guest or explain his specific business, Michael Thompson reported, presenting the situation in terms that made Marcus appear unreasonable and potentially threatening. Richard looked Marcus up and down, taking in his jeans, sweater, and casual appearance while comparing that image to his preconceived notions about the type of person who would have legitimate business matters to discuss with senior management at a luxury hotel. From Richard's biased perspective, Marcus appeared to be likely seeking to file frivolous complaints, demand compensation for imaginary problems, or otherwise waste management time with illegitimate concerns that didn't deserve serious attention. "Sir, if you have a complaint about your stay at our hotel, you can speak with our front desk staff, who are trained to handle all guest service matters," Richard said dismissively. "If you're not currently a guest, then you need to leave the property immediately." Marcus maintained his composure despite the increasingly insulting treatment he was receiving at his own hotel. "I need to speak with you privately about important business matters that affect the operations of this hotel. I'm requesting a brief management meeting, which is a completely reasonable request." Richard interpreted Marcus's persistence as the kind of aggressive behavior that he associated with what he considered problem individuals who refused to accept reasonable explanations and insisted on wasting valuable management time. "I don't have time to deal with complaints from non-guests," Richard replied with growing hostility. "Security, please escort this individual off the property before he disturbs our paying customers." The situation escalated rapidly as both security guards moved closer to Marcus with a clear intention of physically removing him from the hotel lobby. Other guests in the area began openly staring and recording with their smartphones, recognizing that they were witnessing what appeared to be a discriminatory incident. "You need to keep your hands off me," Marcus said clearly and firmly as Michael Thompson reached toward his arm. "I have every right to be in this hotel, and I'm requesting to speak with management about legitimate business concerns that affect this property's operations." "Sir, you need to leave immediately or we'll contact Chicago police to have you arrested for trespassing on private property," David Johnson announced loudly, ensuring that everyone in the lobby could hear his threat and understand that Marcus was being characterized as someone engaged in illegal behavior. The confrontation was now attracting attention throughout the Grand Meridian lobby. Guests were stopping their activities to watch the developing situation. Hotel staff members were emerging from their work areas to see what was causing the commotion. The atmosphere had shifted from normal luxury hotel operations to a tense, uncomfortable situation that was clearly disturbing to many witnesses. Richard Hawthorne was becoming increasingly aggressive as the situation continued, feeling that his management authority was being challenged by someone he viewed as having no legitimate business at his hotel and no right to demand management attention. "I'm telling you for the final time," Richard said with rising anger, "leave this property immediately or face arrest for trespassing and disturbing the peace." Marcus remained calm despite the escalating threats and humiliation he was experiencing in the lobby of his own hotel. "I'm not leaving this property until I speak with someone in appropriate authority about the serious problems that need to be addressed at this hotel." That response pushed Richard past his breaking point. In his mind, Marcus was not just refusing to accept his legitimate authority, but was now threatening to cause ongoing problems for the hotel and disrupting the peaceful environment that paying guests deserved. Richard's voice carried throughout the lobby as he abandoned any pretense of professional conduct. "You people always think you can come into places like this and cause trouble for a hard-working staff and paying customers. Well, not at my hotel. Security, remove this troublemaker from the building immediately and make sure he understands he's not welcome back." The phrase, "you people," sent shockwaves throughout the Grand Meridian lobby. Several guests audibly gasped at the obvious racial implications. Carlos Martinez at the front desk stepped backward, clearly disturbed by what he was witnessing. Even 𝐒𝐮𝐸 𝐶, despite her reluctance to challenge management authority, recognized that the situation had crossed into completely unacceptable territory. Jennifer Walsh looked around nervously, understanding that something very wrong was happening, but uncertain about how to respond or whether she had any authority to intervene in a situation involving the acting general manager and senior security staff. Both security guards moved to physically remove Marcus from the lobby area, with David Johnson grabbing his left arm while Michael Thompson positioned himself to block any attempt to move deeper into the hotel or resist their efforts to escort him toward the main entrance. "This is assault and discrimination," Marcus said clearly, ensuring that his voice carried throughout the lobby and that the numerous witnesses could hear his characterization of what was happening. "I am being physically removed from this hotel because of my race, and everyone here is witnessing it. We don't serve your kind here," Richard shouted, completely abandoning any concern for professional conduct or the hotel's reputation. "Take your complaints and your attitude to some place that wants to deal with people like you." The Grand Meridian lobby had gone completely silent, except for the sounds of smartphone cameras recording every word and action. Guests throughout the area were staring in shock and disbelief at the blatant discrimination and racial hostility being displayed by hotel management and security staff. Several guests looked visibly disturbed by what they were witnessing. A few appeared to be considering whether they should intervene in some way, while others seemed uncomfortable but uncertain about how to respond to such an unprecedented situation in a luxury hotel environment. Staff members throughout the lobby area were watching with expressions ranging from shock to disgust to fear about their association with what was clearly becoming a major incident that would have serious consequences for everyone involved. As the security guards continued to escort Marcus toward the main entrance, he calmly pulled out his smartphone and speed dialed a number from memory. His voice remained controlled and authoritative despite the physical and verbal assault he was experiencing. "This is Marcus Blackwell," he said clearly and loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I need you to patch me through to our corporate legal department immediately. I am currently at the Grand Meridian, Chicago, and I have just been physically assaulted and racially discriminated against by my own employees." The words "my own employees" caused Richard Hawthorne to pause his shouting and look back at Marcus with the first hint of uncertainty and concern he had shown during the entire confrontation. Marcus continued his phone conversation as the security guards maintained their grip on his arms and continued pushing him toward the hotel exit. "I also need you to immediately contact our head of security, our human resources director, and our corporate communications team. We have a situation that requires immediate intervention, comprehensive documentation, and full legal response." Richard was now beginning to experience the first stirrings of doubt about his actions, but his pride, prejudice, and commitment to the confrontation he had initiated prevented him from stopping the removal process or reconsidering his behavior. Marcus was escorted to the Grand Meridian's main entrance and onto the sidewalk of North Michigan Avenue, where he continued his phone conversation with growing authority and determination. The security guards released his arms, but remained positioned between him and the hotel entrance to prevent him from returning to the building. "This is Dr. Marcus Blackwell, Chief Executive Officer and majority owner of Blackwell Hospitality Group," he said, deliberately putting his phone on speaker mode, so that anyone within hearing distance could listen to the conversation that was about to completely transform the situation. The voice that responded immediately was crisp, professional, and filled with urgent concern. "Mr. Blackwell, this is Linda Martinez, General Counsel for Blackwell Hospitality Group. What is your current situation? Are you injured? Do you require immediate medical attention or emergency assistance?" "Linda, I will require medical documentation of physical assault, but my immediate priority is ensuring that everyone involved in this incident faces appropriate consequences, and that we document everything thoroughly for criminal and civil legal proceedings." "Sir, I am immediately dispatching our corporate security team, our executive management staff, and our crisis response team to the Grand Meridian, Chicago. I am also contacting the FBI Civil Rights Division and the Chicago Police Department to report this incident as a hate crime." Richard Hawthorne, who had followed the security guards outside the hotel to ensure that Marcus left the property and didn't attempt to return, was now listening to this phone conversation with growing horror and realization about what he had done. "Linda, I want everyone who participated in this assault and discrimination terminated from employment immediately," Marcus continued with calm but unmistakable authority. "The acting general manager who used racial slurs and epithets, both security guards who physically assaulted me, and any front desk or other staff who participated in or actively supported this discriminatory treatment. Consider it done, Mr. Blackwell. I am also implementing an immediate and comprehensive investigation of all hiring practices, management oversight, and policy compliance at the Grand Meridian to determine how this level of discrimination was allowed to develop without corporate awareness or intervention." Excellent. "I also want a complete review of all Grand Meridian policies, procedures, and management practices to identify and eliminate any other discriminatory elements that may exist in this property's operations." Within minutes, Marcus's phone was ringing with calls from his executive team members, corporate security director, head of human resources, and senior vice presidents who were coordinating the company's response to what was clearly a major crisis requiring immediate and comprehensive action. "Mr. Blackwell, this is Robert Chun, corporate security director for Blackwell Hospitality Group," came one voice that was clearly audible to everyone gathered on the sidewalk. "I am personally en route to the Grand Meridian right now with a full investigation team and all necessary documentation equipment. This is Patricia Williams, Human Resources Director," came another voice. "I am implementing immediate termination procedures for all employees involved in this incident, and I am initiating a comprehensive review of all personnel files and hiring decisions for the Grand Meridian Chicago." "This is Michael Rodriguez, Executive Vice President for Operations," came a third voice. "I am contacting all major news outlets, civil rights organizations, and industry publications to ensure this story receives appropriate coverage and that our company's response is clearly communicated to the public." "This is Dr. Sarah Martinez, Chief Operating Officer," came yet another voice. "I am implementing immediate policy changes across all Blackwell properties to prevent any similar incidents and ensure that our anti-discrimination standards are being maintained consistently throughout our organization." Richard Hawthorne, Michael Thompson, and David Johnson were standing on the sidewalk in complete shock, finally beginning to understand the full magnitude of what they had done and the consequences they were about to face for discriminating against the owner and CEO of their own company. Marcus looked directly at each of the three men who had assaulted and discriminated against him, his voice carrying clearly in the late afternoon air of North Michigan Avenue. "Gentlemen, I want you to understand exactly what has happened here today. You physically assaulted and racially discriminated against the chief executive officer and majority owner of Blackwell Hospitality Group. You used racial slurs and epithets against the person who ultimately signs your paychecks and determines employment policies for this entire company." His voice grew stronger and more authoritative with each word as he continued. "Richard Hawthorne, you are terminated from Blackwell Hospitality Group effective immediately. You will never work in the hospitality industry again. Michael Thompson and David Johnson, you are both terminated from employment and will be reported to all relevant licensing and certification authorities to ensure that you cannot find work in hotel security anywhere in this country." The gathering crowd of hotel staff members, guests, and curious passers-by was recording everything on their smartphones and beginning to post videos and commentary on social media platforms. Within hours, hashtags like Grand Meridian discrimination and hotel CEO assault started trending nationally as the story spread across the internet. Marcus walked confidently back to the front entrance of his own hotel, past the security guards who had just physically assaulted him, past the front desk staff who had watched the discrimination occur without intervening, and directly to the registration desk, where he addressed the remaining employees in a voice that carried throughout the lobby. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus announced in a tone that commanded immediate attention from everyone in the Grand Meridian lobby, "I am Dr. Marcus Blackwell, Chief Executive Officer and majority owner of Blackwell Hospitality Group, the parent company of this hotel and 46 other properties across North America." The lobby fell completely silent as staff members and guests absorbed the shocking reality of what they had just witnessed and what Marcus was revealing about his identity and authority. What you have just observed was the most serious failure of our company's values, policies, and commitment to equal treatment that I have encountered in 25 years of building this business. Marcus continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. Jennifer Walsh, you watched racial discrimination and physical assault occur in this lobby and took no action to stop it or report it to the appropriate authorities. You are terminated from Blackwell Hospitality Group effective immediately. Jennifer's face went white as she realized her career was over, but Marcus continued down the line of staff members who had been present during the incident. Carlos Martinez, while you are relatively new to our company, you also witnessed obvious civil rights violations and failed to take any action to intervene or report what you observed. Your employment with Blackwell Hospitality Group is terminated effective immediately. Carlos looked devastated as he understood that his first professional job in hospitality was ending before it had really begun. But Marcus still wasn't finished delivering consequences. Susan Chun, as front desk supervisor, you had both the authority and the professional responsibility to prevent this discriminatory treatment and protect our company's reputation and values. Your failure to intervene or report this behavior represents a serious dereliction of your supervisory duties. You are terminated from employment effective immediately. Marcus's voice carried throughout the Grand Meridian lobby as he addressed the broader implications of what had occurred. Every single employee who participated in, witnessed, or failed to intervene when they observed racial discrimination and assault in this hotel is no longer employed by Blackwell Hospitality Group. We will rebuild this hotel staff completely with people who understand that discrimination has absolutely no place in our company, our industry, or our society. The corporate security team, executive staff, and legal representatives began arriving at the Grand Meridian within 30 minutes of Marcus's initial phone calls. FBI civil rights investigators arrived within 2 hours to begin their formal investigation. Chicago Police Department officers took detailed statements from witnesses and collected smartphone video evidence of the incident. Richard Hawthorne was arrested in charge of assault, civil rights violations, and hate crimes under both state and federal law. The security guards faced similar charges plus additional counts related to their role in the physical removal and assault. All 3 men would eventually serve significant jail time and face civil lawsuits that would result in substantial financial judgments against them. But the immediate consequences were just the beginning of a story that would reshape the entire hospitality industry, establish new legal precedents for guest rights and corporate accountability, and become a landmark case study in business schools and civil rights law courses across the country. Within 24 hours of the incident, videos of Marcus being discriminated against and assaulted at his own hotel have been viewed over 100 million times across all social media platforms. Major news outlets around the world picked up the story, with coverage focusing both on the shocking discrimination and on Marcus's swift, decisive response that demonstrated true corporate leadership in crises. The story dominated news cycles for weeks, with extensive analysis of the broader implications for the hospitality industry, civil rights enforcement, and corporate responsibility for preventing discrimination in customer service environments. Marcus called a comprehensive press conference the following morning at the Blackwell Hospitality Group headquarters, where he announced a detailed 20-point plan for eliminating discrimination throughout the hospitality industry and establishing new standards for guest rights and corporate accountability. What happened to me yesterday at the Grand Meridian happens to thousands of travelers every year across this country, Marcus told the assembled media representatives, civil rights leaders, and industry executives. The only difference is that I had the corporate power and resources to create immediate consequences and implement systematic change. Most discrimination victims don't have that kind of power, and that's exactly why we need comprehensive industry-wide reforms that protect all travelers regardless of their background or appearance. The 20-point plan included mandatory unconscious bias training for all hospitality employees, independent oversight committees with authority to investigate discrimination complaints, body cameras for security personnel, anonymous reporting systems for both guests and employees, and a $100 million fund to compensate victims of hospitality discrimination and support organizations working to eliminate bias in service industries. Marcus also announced that Blackwell Hospitality Group would immediately implement the most comprehensive anti-discrimination policies in the industry, including zero-tolerance employment policies, regular third-party audits of guest treatment practices, and financial incentives for employees who demonstrate exceptional commitment to equal service standards. The criminal cases against Richard Hawthorne and the security guards proceeded rapidly through both state and federal court systems, with extensive high-definition video evidence from multiple smartphone recordings and comprehensive witness testimony from hotel guests and staff. Convictions were swift and sentences were appropriately severe. Richard Hawthorne was convicted on multiple felony counts, including assault, civil rights violations, and hate crimes. He was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison, ordered to pay substantial fines and restitution, and received a lifetime ban from working in any hospitality-related business. His conviction became a permanent part of his record that prevented him from finding employment in the customer service industry. Michael Thompson and David Johnson received shorter, but still significant prison sentences, along with permanent prohibitions on working in hotel security or any position involving authority over members of the public. Their security licenses were permanently revoked, and their convictions served as warnings to other security professionals about the serious legal consequences of participating in discriminatory treatment of customers or guests. The civil lawsuit that Marcus filed sought $75 million in compensatory and punitive damages, not for personal financial benefit, but to establish a clear legal precedent about the financial consequences of discrimination and to fund comprehensive prevention programs throughout the hospitality industry. The lawsuit was settled within 6 months for the full amount requested, establishing what legal experts described as the largest discrimination settlement in hospitality history. Marcus donated the entire settlement to create the Hospitality Civil Rights Foundation, which provides legal assistance to discrimination victims, funds bias prevention training programs, and supports research on eliminating prejudice in service industries. But the most significant and lasting impact of the Grand Meridian incident was the comprehensive transformation it sparked throughout the hospitality industry and the new federal legislation it inspired to protect the rights of all travelers. Within 12 months of Marcus's assault and discrimination, Congress had passed the Hotel Guest Civil Rights Act, a landmark piece of legislation requiring all hospitality businesses with more than 10 rooms to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination training, establish independent guest complaint procedures, and report all discrimination incidents to federal civil rights authorities within 24 hours. The legislation also created new federal penalties for hospitality discrimination, including substantial fines for businesses and prison sentences for employees who engage in discriminatory treatment of guests based on race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, or perceived economic status. The Marcus Blackwell case became mandatory study material in hospitality management programs nationwide and is widely considered the most important civil rights case in the industry's history. Business schools use it as a primary example of crisis management, corporate leadership under extreme pressure, and the effective use of business power to create positive social change. Harvard Business School, where Marcus had earned his MBA, invited him to deliver the annual Leadership in Crisis lecture, which became one of the most watched business school presentations in history. His speech, titled "When Power Meets Purpose," Using Business Success to Advance Civil Rights, has been viewed over 50 million times and is used in leadership training programs worldwide. Richard Hawthorne's life and career trajectory changed permanently as a result of his discrimination against Marcus. After serving his prison sentence, he was unable to find employment in hospitality, retail, customer service, or any industry involving interaction with the public. The incident became a cautionary tale that is now used in management training programs across multiple industries to illustrate the career-ending consequences of discriminatory behavior. His case is frequently cited in human resources training as an example of how personal bias can destroy not only individual careers, but also damage companies' reputations, create legal liability, and harm entire industries' credibility with customers and the public. The Grand Meridian Chicago was completely restaffed within 30 days, with new employees selected through a rigorous process that emphasized commitment to equal treatment, cultural competency, and the highest standards of professional customer service. The property became a model for inclusive hospitality that other hotel companies studied and attempted to replicate. Under new management, the Grand Meridian implemented innovative programs, including cultural sensitivity training for all staff, guest feedback systems that specifically monitor for discriminatory treatment, and employee recognition programs that rewarded outstanding service to guests from all backgrounds. The hotel also became the first property in the Blackwell Hospitality Group network to achieve certification from the International Association for Inclusive Hospitality, a new organization created in response to Marcus's experience to establish and monitor anti-discrimination standards throughout the industry. Marcus continued to travel frequently and often unannounced to observe guest treatment at his own properties and competitor hotels throughout North America. He established comprehensive anonymous reporting systems that allowed both guests and employees to report discrimination incidents confidentially, and he personally reviewed every complaint submitted through these systems. The Blackwell Foundation, funded by Marcus's discrimination lawsuit settlement, became the largest grant-making organization focused on eliminating bias in service industries. The foundation had provided millions of dollars in funding to civil rights organizations, research institutions studying discrimination, and programs that train hospitality workers to recognize and prevent prejudicial treatment of customers. The foundation also provides legal assistance to discrimination victims who lack the resources to pursue their cases through the court system, and has helped hundreds of individuals obtain justice and compensation for discriminatory treatment in hotels, restaurants, retail establishments, and other service businesses. Marcus's story and the changes it inspired have had a lasting impact far beyond the hospitality industry. The case is studied in law schools as a landmark example of civil rights enforcement, in business schools as a model of corporate crisis management, and in social justice organizations as proof that individual courage combined with institutional power can create comprehensive systemic change. The story of the Grand Meridian incident became legendary in both business and civil rights circles as definitive proof that discrimination has severe, lasting consequences regardless of who commits it or who the victims are. It demonstrated conclusively that corporate leaders have both the power and the moral responsibility to create immediate change when confronting injustice in their organizations. Most importantly, it showed that individual courage in the face of discrimination can transform entire industries, establish new legal protections, and create lasting safeguards that benefit countless future victims of similar treatment. Marcus Blackwell's response to being kicked out of his own hotel changed hospitality history forever and created comprehensive legal protections that continue to benefit travelers throughout North America. His refusal to accept discrimination silently, his immediate and strategic use of corporate power for justice, and his unwavering commitment to systematic industry transformation proved that individual moral leadership can create a better, more equitable world for everyone. The 7 minutes between Marcus being thrown out of Grand Meridian and his return as the CEO who fired everyone involved became the most expensive and consequential discrimination incident in hospitality history. But more importantly, those 7 minutes sparked changes that continue to protect hotel guests, create opportunities for hospitality workers, and advance the cause of civil rights and service industries nationwide. Marcus often reflects that his business success gave him the power to create justice in that situation, but that success also created a responsibility to ensure that his experience leads to protection for others who face discrimination but lack the resources to fight back effectively. Power without purpose is meaningless, he told graduates of the Howard University commencement, where he received an honorary doctorate. But power combined with moral courage and commitment to justice can change the world for everyone, not just for those who are fortunate enough to achieve business success. If this incredible story of courage, justice, and transformation inspired you, please share with others who need to hear this message about the power of standing up to discrimination. Hit that like button to support more content about people who refuse to accept injustice. Subscribe for more amazing stories of individuals who changed entire industries. And tell me in the comment about a time when you witnessed someone stand up for what's right despite facing intimidation or pressure to remain silent. Because Marcus Blackwell's story shows us that sometimes the most shocking and painful moments of discrimination become opportunities for extraordinary positive change that creates lasting benefits for everyone in our society.